and joining us for a while. I was going to start singing Louie Louie, but God, you probably get that all the time, right?
Not as often as you might think.
Well, that's because you have reached a degree and a stature within the community where people just don't bust on you anymore. Louis Avallone. Good morning, Louis, from the Republican Party, Caddo Parish. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Robert. Glad to be with you.
Let's start with the gas tax, the proposed gas tax. John Bell, Transportation Task Force, 23 cents a gallon. But then all these Chamber of Commerce guys with this, it was something, a coalition, including the Shreveport Chamber, backed a 17-cent a gallon gas tax increase. Were you surprised by that? What were your thoughts on that?
I was very surprised. You know, I'm reminded of the saying, if you won't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I think one of the fundamental principles of business is to understand that there is no free lunch. And so you see all these chambers of commerce across the state who come out in favor of this as if there is. And there simply isn't. The bottom line is that the size of the tax bill, whether it's the gas tax or the gross receipts tax, is totally unrelated to a business's ability to pay for it. And that it's assessed on every penny of revenue that's collected within our jurisdiction. And that's regardless of whether a business has made gangbuster profits or whether it's lost its shirt. But just like the gas tax, those taxes don't hurt the Americans or our fellow Shreveporters and Louisianans who have the resources to pay the taxes. It hurts the middle class, those who have to bear the brunt of the taxes indirectly. Because one of the unintended consequences of taxation, Robert, as you know, is that consumers, not the business, typically pay the tax.
Well, we had a number of state representatives and senators on over the last couple of weeks, and at 17 cents a gallon, nobody said they were going to vote for it. In fact, one of the questions I asked Cedric Glover this. I said, at 17 cents a gallon, he said there's no way he could vote for that. And I said, you can ask 25 people what part of the sales tax goes directly to road repair. And I said, you get 25 different answers. I said, you've been in state government a couple of times. You were mayor of Shreveport. You're a pretty learned, intelligent guy. Can you tell me what part of the gas tax goes to road repair? And he looked at me and he couldn't. He said, no. I said, how does that happen? He said, it's Louisiana. Do you have any idea? Do you, Louis Avallone, have any idea? I, Robert J. Wright, do not. Do you have any idea what part of the gas tax goes directly to road repair?
No. And if our representatives and our senators are truly amplifying the voice of we, the people, they won't vote for this. Because there is no trust in our government, whether that's at the state level or the federal level, because too many times, too many politicians have promised us one thing and given us another. And so, until that changes, folks aren't going to want to let go of their dollars. I think a lot of folks want to see their communities improve. And I think you all talk about it every morning. You certainly have talked about it this morning. And that is, if folks know that they're going to get the bang for their buck that they deserve, a lot of folks are willing to make that expenditure as long as they know what they're getting back, like you pointed out. But again, we have a budget in the state of Louisiana of $25 billion. It's 44% higher than it was 10 years ago. It represents the highest per capita spending among the states in the South. We clearly don't have a revenue problem.
So, the governor has suggested the new commercial activity tax. According to the governor's people, ensuring that all businesses in Louisiana pay their fair share. The CAT tax, the email we got yesterday, the CAT is part of a broad tax and spending reform package proposed by Governor Edwards to avoid the fiscal cliff of July 1, 2018. First of all, Explain to me how this cat tax is a good idea. In my mind, it's just redistribution. We're going to give Lewis and Matt and Robert and everybody a tax cut on their personal income, but we're going to pass that along to businesses. How does that help anybody?
It violates every principle of the free market, because there are some businesses, again, this tax is going to be imposed whether or not the company has a profit. Now, you think about companies that want to come to Louisiana, or startups from our young people who will not show a profit, perhaps, but perhaps they're willing to put their sweat, their determination, and every dollar that they earn back into their business so that one day it will show a profit. They can start a family. They can provide for their community. Under this gross receipts tax, or this CAT tax, you're going to dampen the spirit of entrepreneurship in Louisiana for an entire generation.